we're feeling our best. Talking shop, but taking it slow. Crafting life as we go. From laughs to tools, from brews to skies, we're squeezing joy, no need to try. It's life with a twist of lemon. Two best friends and a vibe you can lean on. Tales, ideas, and a pinch of delight. We're bringing sunshine day or night. It's life with a twist of lemon. Two best friends and a vibe you can lean on. Tales, ideas, and a pinch of delight. We're bringing sunshine day or night. Life with a twist. Life with a twist. Life with a twist of lemon.
This is life.
With a twist of lemon. So, Jonathan, first of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year in 3 days, 2 days.
3 days, yeah.
Okay.
This episode will drop in 2026. This will be our first episode of 2026, which seems monumental, Jonathan. We have survived another year.
We have survived another year, which I think was my goal for 2025.
Yeah, your macro goal. But I meant the podcast specifically survived another year. So after a hiatus, we came back. We are here entering 2026, and it's a brand new year, Jonathan. We've talked about our goals. We've talked about our hopes, our aspirations. You are striving for something slightly more than survival?
Slightly more than survival, which you can listen to in, what was that, episode 175?
It was a 170. I know that much. But
174? Yeah. 174.
I don't know. The robots will, listen, dear listener, if you want to know when John talked about survival, just ask ChatGPT. There you go. So,
right.
All right. Well, Jonathan, do you want to talk about your New Year plans? Like you're not hanging around. All right.
So like my actual New Year plans, like celebrating New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, are relatively boring.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna be in bed probably by 9:30. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
But
he says midnight. I'm pretty sure 9:30 is gonna be pushing it.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
But on January 3rd, early in the morning, we will head to the airport and we will fly to Southern California for a week, which will be a nice way to kick off the year.
And in Southern California, you will enjoy Disneyland. I've never been there. I've been to Disney World many a time. Mm-hmm. I am looking forward to a full readout and report right here on Life with a Twist of Jonathan Kohlmeyer to find out whether or not Disneyland is worth it.
I will be happy to report back. And as you know, you and I think about the theme parks differently. So...
Well, yeah. And that'll be good to discussion anyhow, right? To talk about how we think about theme parks and vacation in general. We had a funny text exchange. I believe it was yesterday, right? Was it yesterday where I told you everything that I was doing, and you said that sounds like a very busy day, and I thought it was one of the most relaxing days I've had in a while.
Yes. Yeah. You are very productive in your throwaway days, as you would call them. So
throwaway days, yeah. I think I was texting you from the gym, right?
Which was the first problem, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Listen, if I got time to go to the gym, like it's a good day. But I also had been doing a bunch of coding, which we could probably talk about too, because I'm pretty frustrated with Claude. Ooh. I'm actually pretty frustrated with Codex. I'm in general just frustrated with AI this weekend. And this is hot on the cusp of all of these systems giving us 2 times the credits and limits, blah, 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 to basically, create little, space heaters inside of data centers as they get too creative with their work.
Or they figure it's a time where most people aren't working their day jobs, so now is the time to launch that side hustle that relies upon AI.
I think that's the thing that could have been done this weekend, but I'm telling you, man, I really do think that the models have just gone off the rails with creativity as of late. And I've watched them trip over themselves in ways that I don't know. I think they're getting too ambitious. I think we need a little more tactical execution on these. So
interesting. Well, we might dive into that more. I have not been using it at all because I continue to either be working or cooking, one of the two.
Jonathan, what's the most interesting thing you've cooked since we last recorded?
Since we last recorded, I roasted a chicken for Christmas Day.
Okay. And how did you roast it?
in the oven in a roasting pan.
Okay, but so you just like you didn't do anything to it. You just stuck it in the oven.
So I dry brined it for about an hour.
See, Jonathan, this is the interesting thing. This
Okay.
is what listeners come to the podcast for.
So I actually had ChatGPT tell me what to do. So I dry brined it for about an hour, seasoned with olive oil, salt, and Italian seasoning. Inside stuffed a bunch of aromatics, garlic, onion, bay leaf, things of that nature. And yeah, put it in the roasting pan. Had some onion and stock and garlic, I think, underneath the roasting rack. Was supposed to be done in an hour, took closer to like an hour and 40 minutes.
Ooh, that's that's a wide margin of error. Did ChatGPT have any explanation as to why it would take so much longer, Jonathan?
I think it blamed my oven. So
okay, did it tell you how to test if your oven was the problem?
I didn't go that far. I was annoyed at that point, so I just wanted the chicken to be cooked and to not kill any of my family members. So
I believe that oven calibration is probably something that every human needs to do, and none of us have done it.
Right. Have you done it? That seems like something you would do.
I've not done it. Now, when I cook outside, I have multiple ways of validating the temperature. I do a ton of calibration and monitoring and checking and verification out there. When I cook indoors, I just trust the number on the screen and hope for the best. Right. And I know that I'm failing myself.
The other interesting thing about this cook was it had me do it in convection mode, which I do not actually use that often, probably because I just don't default to it. But so that was the other thing about
it changes. I mean, it changes how you cook, right? It changes all of the math leading up to the completion. But that's interesting that it had you do that. I would have not thought to use convection for a chicken. I in general, I wouldn't have thought about it for poultry, but I guess were they trying to get like a crisper
skin
outside?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense.
Turned out okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. How did your ladies think it turned out?
So they liked it. They ate more of it the day afterwards because we had filled up on crackers and cheese and things like that beforehand.
Yes.
Classic holiday error.
The age-old Christmas problem. How do I stop eating the charcuterie before the main course? Yeah.
I had this delicious truffle cheddar cheese. That was to die for, Stan.
I've got a question for you about truffles. This is like a little bit of an existential crisis for me. So I just had a Hershey Kiss that's chocolate truffle, right?
Interesting.
Okay. And if you go out to a restaurant and you get like truffle fries, right? So it's a truffle oil on top. I think those truffles are different, right?
I believe so, yes. Chocolate truffles are not the truffles for truffle fries.
So, but how is someone supposed to know whether I'm eating chocolate truffle, by the way, like what is chocolate truffle? Truffle, when I'm talking about the oil in my French fries, that's a mushroom, right?
It's a mushroom, correct.
Yeah. So they're not putting mushroom in my chocolate.
I'm fairly certain not, but I do not know why that is called a truffle, but ChatGPT would.
Well, and I could have asked it, but I wanted to see if you would know, Jonathan. Do you ever find this struggle in your life? The dance between the truffles?
I don't, I think because I compartmentalize things. So like if it's chocolate, it's a truffle. And if it's not, then it's the mushroom truffle.
See, my existence is purely ether. Like I'm just out here floating in the abyss and I'm bumping into truffles of various sorts and I don't know how to categorize or sort them. So that's very frustrating.
Maybe you should write an app for that, Stan.
I think the app is called ChatGPT and I just need to whip it out and check it. But we're not there. All right. Jonathan, I've got one question before you, and then I think you're going to take the reins here, you and your friend ChatGPT.
Right.
Is LinkedIn Premium worth it?
So I have done the whatever it was, 2-week trial like 4 years ago, and I voted no at that time.
That's the last time you've tried it?
Yeah, I have not tried it since.
Okay. And you've never actually paid for a subscription?
I've never paid for a subscription. I think it was crazy expensive.
It is rather costly. Yes, that is for sure. I have done a couple of free trials. I have paid for a subscription, usually at a discounted rate. I don't know that I've ever paid full price. If I have, I don't recall. But even at a discounted rate, it's pretty pricey. I'm wrapping up a 2-month discounted rate, and I cannot articulate to you the value that I got from it. And I was
Which is
pretty active.
You were very active, and this is very sad because this was the growth play to regrow our listenership of the podcast.
And maybe we gained a bunch of listeners from LinkedIn. I don't know. But I'm also not sure. Like, we looked at one point at boosting posts, right? And the cost per impression was astronomical, right?
Yep.
Like it was.
That was impressions, right?
It was impressions. Yeah. Not even like, I'm not asking for clicks or engagement. It's just the cost of impression. And I suspect that there are some recruiting aspects, right? Like, I should pop for more recruiters by having it. I tried.
Maybe.
There's this, when you're looking at a job description, you can like indicate I'm interested or I'm open to being interested. It's like something like that, right? Like it's
Right.
very specific language that is non-committal in every way, shape, and form. And I tried that just because I was curious, like, how, will I get any traction, engagement, right? That's all I'm looking for. Like, will I get different people hitting me up? I saw nothing material in terms of reaching out from companies, recruiters. And now I will say this is fourth quarter stuff. So it is entirely possible that, there's
Everybody
nobody
checked out for the year.
everybody's checked out for the year. So maybe it was just bad time. Maybe that's why LinkedIn gave me at a discount rate. I don't know. And to be clear, like, I'm not looking for a job. I'm just genuinely curious, what is the value prop of LinkedIn, especially at such a premium price? And
this is different than Sales Navigator, right?
I don't know what Sales Navigator is, John.
So, like, the thing that all the people use to do business development research, like, they get notified of job title changes in org charts, and it like syncs over into CRM, and they can basically enroll people into sequences using InMail and things of that nature.
I think that's totally different. I think this is just simply a premium LinkedIn subscription plan.
So really, the value proposition is you can see all the people who view your profile.
That's part of it. So they do have like they've got like an education center. You can take some classes, like things like that. I've looked at those. Honestly, like, most of them felt dated and not particularly impactful for the time, right? Because here's the other thing: like, I'm paying, I think it's $40 a month is the normal price, right? And
I think it's cheaper than it was 4 years ago. So,
oh man, it's like that's twice my ChatGPT subscription, right?
Right.
And
ChatGPT is far more valuable.
So what was the thing you were asking about? Sales Navigator?
Sales Navigator, I think it's called.
That's $100 a month.
Okay.
Recruiter Lite is $170 a month.
Oh, so they have a recruiter thing too. Interesting.
Yeah, and the recruiter version, like, I would imagine that's helpful. But who knows? Like,
I mean,
I don't know.
If you didn't get any hits when you were paying for premium, then, like, I don't know.
Well, and the other thing too, I'll say is, I think anecdotally, my last 10 years in the business being on the hiring side, I think most of our applicants are direct application. And I like thinking about the last few people we hired, I think they're all direct applicants too, right?
Interesting.
So
what's your breakdown between hiring internally versus externally?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm probably not even privy to that. Like, I don't know.
Okay. I feel like there's a lot of companies where, like, when they're posting a role, a lot of times they fill it with internal applicants.
Yeah, that definitely happens. Like, at Salesforce, that was a big thing, right? So when I was at Salesforce, internal movement was like a cultural thing. It was encouraged. There were mechanisms to promote it. Everybody got a first shot at it before it was a public listing. But like, it was very intentional that was part of the thing that they did, and they wanted to be done. Okay. That is also the only place in my 20-year professional career where I've seen it with that level of intentionality. I'm sure there are other places that do it, right? Especially, I would imagine in the bigger company space, like it would shock me if Facebook doesn't have some type of internal mobility
Right.
option. But that is another interesting aspect to this. Like maybe direct applicants are internal mobility. Again, anecdotally, just thinking about recent hires, that's not the case. But
Yeah.
here's the thing too. Like if you're trying to hire younger people, like earlier in career individuals, you don't get those through internal mobility typically, right? Internal mobility is for later in career folks, typically, at least in technology. And what I see, at least in technology right now, is a lot of early in career hiring listed on the interwebs and whatnot, even on LinkedIn. In fact, if I post something about a listing that we have on LinkedIn, that will dominate my impressions.
Okay.
Right. So,
well, that seems like a good thing from a LinkedIn standpoint.
From a LinkedIn standpoint, I have no idea if LinkedIn Premium has anything to do with that, though.
Probably
right?
doesn't. All
Probably
algorithm.
doesn't. Yeah.
Which is something else we should talk about. The algorithm of pretty much all social media being garbage now.
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't know. I mean, is it garbage for the consumer? Is it garbage for the producer? Or is it garbage for both? What do you think?
I would say both, right?
Yeah.
Because you and I come from early days of news feeds, right? So, and I think we both tend to lean towards the completionist side of things. Like I very much would like to go back to seeing things that I care about chronologically, instead of all this random stuff. Now,
I'm past that. I'm with you. I was there, but I'm past that.
on Instagram, maybe we have found some really great Lord of the Rings memes or educational content, but that's like not even 10% of the stuff you have to scroll through.
So Instagram is where I think the algorithm might be working.
Okay.
Maybe to a lesser extent Threads. Let me expand here. So Instagram has increasingly over the last year given me content that I'm interested in that I don't follow, where the other platforms don't, right? So it'll be like woodworking stuff or Pilates things or Lord of the Rings. Like I didn't follow any Lord of the Rings accounts before stuff popped up, and I don't think I follow that many Lord of the Rings accounts, but I get a lot of content, right?
Right.
So I think that's actually an area where they've managed to profile my interests in a way that gives me content in a way that I want, right? And I see that to a slightly lesser extent on Threads, which I don't use a lot.
Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time on Threads either. I think the only reason that I actually activated Threads was because he kept sending me friend requests.
There we go. So I probably didn't even realize I was doing it. But there too, we have, I think, content that bubbles up. For me, Threads is like actually interesting sports news bites. That's what prominently gets pushed up into my Threads feed. And I kind of like that. Like there's an aspect, honestly, of Threads that feels to me like old Twitter, you know? I think they've nailed that. But I think those are exceptional because if I go over to Blue Sky or God forbid X, formerly known as Twitter, I definitely don't get that. Facebook is a sea of trash, right? And then LinkedIn, I think the algorithm is completely worthless. Like I really think that whatever they're using to decide what to show me is beyond subpar, and some of it is so antagonistically clickbait that it actually ticks me off.
Well, what ticks me off is like there are often times where I literally have to go to your profile to see what you posted. You think that LinkedIn would show that to me, right?
Well, especially with the amount of engagement that we have, right? And I tag you periodically, right? And stuff too, like for the podcast. I think that's where LinkedIn has really just dropped the ball, at least on the algorithm side. For me, I open up LinkedIn and the top posts will be something that is AI skeptic in a like super antagonistic way, right? Like just hostile. And there's nothing based upon the content that I have shared and released that should encourage LinkedIn to put that in front of me. Now, you could make the argument that they want me to like experience alternative positions, right? That's fine. But like it is literally the over the top, super dramatized clickbait, rage bait is what it is. That it'll pop up there, and then Then occasionally I'll get like some random post about some super niche technology with a question at the bottom, like, is this a good post? Would you suggest this? Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. And those most of the time, like it's super technical detail about something that I have absolutely no familiarity with, right? Which is the worst. So it's not like someone's asking me like, "Hey, what do you think about this Spring Boot implementation, thing that somebody wrote about?" No, it's like some like crazy edge case Rust thing that someone did for in an industry that I have no experience with, right?
Right.
I have no business telling LinkedIn this is a good post or not.
Right.
Um, so that algorithm's broken, and maybe that's why premium feels like it's such a ripoff. I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, review of LinkedIn Premium is we don't really know what we're paying for, or 2 thumbs way down.
2 thumbs way down at this point. Like I would love for someone at LinkedIn to explain to me what the value prop is for someone who is not actively looking for a job, 2, not actively looking to use their, rip-off masterclass implementation, and 3, just wants to drive engagement around written content, you know?
Right.
And that would be great.
Just crafting posts for LinkedIn, I have no idea why something takes off and why something doesn't.
There's no rhyme or reason. Yeah. Because I think like some of my best content has not, gone anywhere. And then some of my weakest content. In fact, one of the posts that I had that was off the charts in terms of engagement was a little quippy satire piece I did on Robinson Crusoe, right? And like the life of an engineer. That thing blew up, and there was no reason for it because honestly, it was a stupid post, right? I
And
did have
nobody's
some.
read Robinson Crusoe except you and I.
Nobody has read Robinson Crusoe, right? Like the fact that I got comments on it too still blows my mind as well, right? And okay. So then I tried, I think a little later, to do the same thing with Jane Eyre. That one fell flat, like completely fell flat, right? So I don't even think it's the style of post. The
it doesn't
podcast
seem to be
ones,
time.
no, it doesn't seem to be time because I've tried everything time wise too.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem paying for a service that adds value, that contributes value, but I just don't think this is it. And I want to be wrong. I don't know why, but I want to be wrong on this one.
Yep.
So
maybe another social media platform will present itself because that's just what the world needs.
Yeah, right. That's what so here's the thing. The thing that I want to like about LinkedIn is the idea that we're talking about professional, career-oriented things in technology, right? I love the potential for concentration of content in that regard. Along with folks who I have built relationships up with that are, quite frankly, singularly scoped to my job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I want it to be better than it is. But
right. I agree. I completely agree. This kind of moves into the topic that ChatGPT, that I chose from the options ChatGPT gave me, is to talk about taste. And part of this,
I gotta just rail on this a little bit, okay?
LinkedIn
So you should explain. No, ChatGPT. So you explain how you set this up.
Basically, I told ChatGPT to, hey, dive deep into our website, look at transcripts for our recent things, and suggest topics to talk about for this next episode.
Okay, and then you shared it to me as a group chat.
I did.
Right? Now,
well, I shared it after I forced it to, actually give me new ideas and not just continue talking about what we have been talking about.
So it shows up on the mobile app. It shows up on the web. But the desktop app on the computer that I'm using right now does not show group chats. If it does,
which is so weird because it's probably just a wrapper for a web version, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it doesn't have the section header and it doesn't list them there. In fact, I don't even like the fact that the group chats are in their own separate section, which I could rail about too. Because if you notice, I left 3 group chats that we had previously
I
because
did. And you know what it did, Stan? It gave me a notification like it had been updated. And then I look and it's like, oh, Stan left.
So here's why I left. It's at the top. It's pinned to the top, right? So when I open up
Can't
the
move it.
app,
Yep.
I got to scroll past the group chats to get to the stuff that I'm actually working on. So those are old chats. They should have like fallen down the list. And I couldn't figure out any other way to make them go away than to leave the group chat, which is stupid, right?
Yep.
That's stupid UX. Now, I'm over in the desktop app and I can't even see the one that you opened up and I want to. So like these feel to me like solvable problems that ChatGPT should be able to figure out, OpenAI should be able to figure out. But I don't know, man. It's these little things that they gnaw away at the usability of the tool that drive me friggin' nuts. And Claude, it's got its own issues. But I will say this: conversation navigation in the app, whether desktop or mobile, far superior. It just works.
Interesting. So, OpenAI, if you're listening, you need a user experience, user interface priority instead of just trying to keep ahead of all your competitors.
And I'm happy to sit on a design call and talk to you about how I use the application and my frustrations, also my loves. I love this app. I use this app all the time. I can't imagine life without it. And yet it annoys the living crap out of me.
If only they knew what value you just threw out there for them to take.
And they probably would if it wasn't for the fact that LinkedIn Premium is never going to show the post that where I'm going to write about this to any of the people that I know who work at OpenAI, which there are a few.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Taste.
Now the substance of the chat.
Anyways, so yeah, the first response was like, hey, just keep talking about all these things that we've talked about for the last 4 weeks. And I'm like, no, we've covered those topics. Give me new ideas. And it gave me a few. I landed on taste. What were the other ones it gave me? You can't open the thing because you use the desktop app and not the web.
No, I've got to open the web. To open the web. Yeah.
So basically throughout taste, stuff we're actively opting out of, which I think takes more preparation than we can just do on the fly. What feels over-engineered now, which could be another good thing to chew on a little bit. The difference between luxury and comfort, not overly interesting to me, maybe to you. But yeah. What are we still bad at on purpose? We could talk about why that's just a bad idea overall. And yeah, so I landed on taste. So because this has been a theme for probably the last 6 months in my work life, Stan. It's how do you develop a sense of taste? Why can I look at a website and know, hey, this is a good user experience versus this is a bad user experience? When I don't remember necessarily learning that, so how am I supposed to teach people who are early in their careers how to develop the sense of taste?
So would you say in the last year, your sense of taste has fundamentally changed?
I would not.
Okay. All right. But you would describe yourself as having a sense of taste.
In aspects that I care about, yes.
How would you describe your taste?
In what aspects, Stan? I don't know. I don't know if I would describe my taste even. Because like if we zoom out and we look at this in the food realm, right? So like my taste has definitely evolved since I was in high school, right? Where I didn't eat eggs or mushrooms or things like that.
Yeah.
Right. And like what changed there was
mushrooms
exposure.
or truffles or both.
I mean, generally I can't afford truffles, so. Now you completely threw me off my train of thought. But exposure is what changed the taste there, right? I went on choir tours to different parts of the country. I didn't have a lot of option to not eat something if I wanted to eat. I traveled across the country with you in a nonprofit we worked at every summer. Exposure with some people who really, really love food and trying different things. Like that's the first time I had Vietnamese food or things of that nature. Sushi.
Yeah, exposure is a key word there. I think just getting in front of things that are different gives you an opportunity to identify what is good and what is not, right? And here's where I'm going to be arguably a little controversial. I think there are things that are objectively tasteful and objectively tasteless, right?
Oh, I
I think
absolutely agree. I believe
I
that there's objectivity to beauty as well.
yeah,
There are
yeah.
things that are objectively beautiful versus not.
And so you saw me, the listener obviously can't see us, but you saw me take a step back to my bookshelf and grab a book as you were starting this conversation. And then I was checking in Amazon how long ago I bought this book. This book, Jonathan, it is titled Get Your House Right.
Mm.
And I bought it in 2014. It is by Marianne Cusato and Ben Pentriath with Richard Sammons and Leon Creer. Right, that's a mouthful. The subtitle is Architectural Elements to Use and Avoid. This is not normal reading material for me. In 2014, I bought this book and I was stunned at how it talked about the angles on houses, the angles in roof lines, and the ratios of the height of a wall to a roof line and things of that sort. And the reason I bring it up is because it made it clear to me that there are certain things because of geometry and the human body and the things that we see that are like good, right, and salutary that are objectively beautiful, right? And so you can design an ugly house, and this book would actually explain to you why it's ugly, right? It would explain to you why I don't like the roof line of my home, for example, right?
Which would be interesting because I don't really like the roof line of your home either, but I have no idea why.
Oh, interesting. So there are, but this book really like framed that for me in a way that I had not ever conceived of before. And so I think that there's, you talk about magic numbers or magic ratios, things of that sort, right? There are things where the aesthetics translate to natural occurring beauty, right? And we have taken the ratios of those naturally occurring beautiful things and translated them into things that we create, and that helps make them beautiful versus not, right? That's the premise, right?
So my exposure here was in photography when I learned the rule of thirds, right?
There you go. Yep.
So like instead of everything being dead center, you see the grid on some camera interfaces, and you line up the areas of interest off center.
Yeah.
On either a third line or where the thirds intersect. So
Yep. So there's I think there's something to that. So when I think about taste, right, I think about finding the objectively beautiful aspects of a thing. And I've been talking about visuals, but I think this translates into food as well, right?
Yep.
A piece of meat that has no salt is probably not going to be fantastic, right? The best cuts of meat, as fantastic as they are typically salted, right? Because salt does a thing to the taste that draws out even more flavor, right? And I think you can like look at objectively, like if you cook a piece of chicken right now and you don't salt it, like no one's going to like that, right? Unless you COVID-19 killed your taste buds, whatever. I don't know. Like there's objectivity to that, right? I think also, you can have foods that are too rich, or you can have foods that are too greasy, things of that nature, right? Or nobody likes a piece of gristle in their chicken nugget. I'm sorry, it's just not good. So there's objectivity in that. And I think you start to think about like what is the basis for those, and you will start to develop a sense of taste. Like I think a sense of taste is understanding those things that are objective, and then figuring out beyond the objectivity, what do you prefer or not?
Right.
Okay.
So you're more advanced in your career than you were initially.
As one tends to do.
Let's talk about your taste in code, maybe starting from the code you were writing in high school to now what kind of the expectation that you would hold your engineers to today.
Oh, that's fascinating, because I actually think that my taste in code quality has diminished significantly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
This discussion may not go where you think.
I wasn't expecting this, but okay.
So when I started coding, first of all, I didn't know what was good code, what was bad. I only knew the thing that did the work that I wanted it to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. As time developed, I learned how to write code that had certain organizational characteristics, right? And the way that I would maybe describe this to someone who doesn't know anything about coding is, if you open up a junk drawer and you can find the thing that you want, right, predictably, that is a well-organized junk drawer, right? If it is literally a C and you have no idea how to get to it, and in the process of trying to get to the thing that you're going to get to, you're going to stab yourself with scissors, right? Maybe brush up against an uncapped Sharpie so that you have permanent marker on your hand. And then as you're, spilling blood across an heirloom that you've tucked away in there and ruining it forever, you will achieve the goal that you want. You'll get the outcome, but you will have done a lot of awful stuff along the way, right?
Okay.
And so that is like disorganized code, right? Poorly organized code. So well-organized code allows you to do the thing that you want to do quickly, efficiently, effectively, without side effects. And there is a huge amount of gray in that. Some people want to put the pens on the left and the pencils on the right. Some people want to put the scissors in the middle. Others want to put the rulers in the back. I don't know. Like you choose. But the point is that like you get to, I become much more tolerant of those choices than I would have, when I started. Where I have become more militant is like, you have to write a test for the functionality that you're developing for everything, right? And the thing that your code does is the most important attribute of it, right? And so in some respects, it's like a reversion to where I started, where it's like, I just wrote some stuff that did a thing. It was what I wanted to do, and I'm good. And, not to flip this back to the AI centric stuff, but the quality of code that I'm willing to tolerate from something like Claude or Codex is much lower than I am from a human, like 1,000%, because it took me no effort and I was able to just do it, and the outcome was right. Right.
Okay.
But I think there, to drive this back to taste maybe is I think the thing in software, I find technologists who do technology for technology's sake to be utterly irritating. And I think the tasteful thing in software development is building product for customers. So the quality of the code is secondary to, did it get a job done for someone who needed something done?
Interesting. I don't know if I knew you were going to end up here, but I don't know that I entirely disagree either. So in my line of work, I think I'm going to be taking a heavy focus on marketing going into 2026. So I'm thinking about this from a marketing perspective, which is what the customer is interacting and what the customer sees. But to that end, like, there are fundamental design rules, right? Alignment, repetition, things of that nature, visual hierarchy. So I think that early in your career, you learn those rules, you follow those rules, and the result is adequate but boring, right?
I think that's fair.
And then as you get more exposed or you try different things, you figure out when and how to break those rules effectively. And then that's where the gray area starts to come in. Where like, hey, one designer may do this, where another designer may do that. But the fundamentals are still there about what makes good design. So there's my marketing segue there.
Okay.
You're typing. But
I am typing. I'm taking a note. Yeah, I don't think we're too fundamentally different, right? In terms of what we're describing, in terms of the outcome. I really, not to make this into like a exit interview for 2025 here, but if I look at my focus as a technologist in 2025, it was on outcome orientation, right? And really taking this thing that we do in software and trying to reframe how we talk about it. There are still things that I care above all else, right? There are I'll call them non-negotiables, right? You can't lose customers' data. You have to be available for the mission critical things that depend on you. And you can't make risky choices that compromise those. There is especially in the era that we live in, being available and being reliable, at least in the like the primary use case, is so stinking important that when we talk about code quality, right? I am willing to lean on that so far as it plays into those things. Like I'm not comfortable doing stupid stuff that risk the business or the customer or the outcome. Um, but other than that, like I don't know that I don't know that I care that much.
Interesting. So how detailed do you get with those non-negotiables?
I mean, as detailed as I need to be, right? Like, so it's risk mitigation, right? Like I feel like sometimes where I'm at in my career as a technologist, risk mitigation is the thing. So I look at a thing, a plan, right, or a pull request, whatever it is, and the question I'm asking myself is, what part of this is so risky that it jeopardizes the business, you know, or what part of this is so risky that someone in a mission critical industry might not get the outcome that they need, and you know, I will go to the mats, I will die on a hill for those things. You can ask some of my colleagues, my engineers. I have lost my mind on phone calls, Zooms, whatever, over the lack of test coverage, right, for things. Um, and I'll die on that hill 1,000 times, no regrets, right? But like, you know, your function was 60 lines versus 120. I don't know. Like you know, old Stan, pretty militant about that. New Stan, not sure I really care.
Okay, so that's the risk mitigation side. When you start thinking about customer experience, like, okay, maybe in your world, just being available and reliable and trustworthy is the differentiator. But are there ever moments where you dive into, hey, what are the details that would really make this a enjoyable customer experience?
Yeah, I don't know that I always use the word enjoyable, but I definitely care about the customer experience. Right? I do a lot of API design work. Like that is all customer experience work. I think the thing I've got this mantra that I rattle off a lot. Like it should be easier for our customer than it is for us. Whatever this thing
Mhm.
is, like this feature we're going to go build, it should be easier for the customer to use it than it is for us to build it. Which means that like we will absorb all of the complexity, all of the difficulty, right? We will make the experience simple, easy, and intuitive, even if it requires sixfold the work, right? Um, and you know, maybe it's sixfold ugly work. I don't know, but it's still like there's no satisfaction in giving customers a bunch of knobs and tubes and dials that they can change that will work against them, right? Like I don't want to ship that, and so um, I think good taste means that the customer can do the thing that they want to do without having to go and I don't know, ask ChatGPT how to do it. You know?
I agree. The next question is, and how do you bring other people along to this way of thinking?
I, I mean,
Do
there's
you
a
hire
component.
for it, or can you develop it?
You can definitely do both, right? Like I think if you have the opportunity to hire for someone who cares deeply about the customer experience, like you're never going to go wrong there. You know, someone who thinks about like how is a customer using this, what is the story, um, and let me sidebar for a moment here. You know, I worked at Salesforce for a long time. I worked in the Martech space. When I started that job, I did not care about digital marketing at all, and I wouldn't even say like I cared about it at the end, but I understood it, and so part
Okay,
of
I
my
was your favorite digital marketer at that time.
you were you're my favorite, you're my only digital marketer. Um, but I would find myself like just not caring what the experience was like because it was too removed for me, right? And there's a certain element of like if you are hiring people who have no interest in using the software you're building, and I'm not saying like they have to use it day in day out, but like actually understanding the product. Like if someone can't show you how to do the thing that your software does, like that's probably not a good hire, right? And likewise, if you can't foster an energy and excitement with your team to use the thing that they're building, right? Just understand it. Again, not like I'm not asking, I'm not a digital marketer. I was never going to use Pardot day in and day out, right? But I understood the software. And um, I knew how to leverage it. And so I could wrap my mind into the persona and say, no, that's actually going to be a really lousy experience, or it's not, you know. But you know, I think that in most people is easy to cultivate just by watching it, right? So if you're on a team where nobody cares about the experience, you have no incentive to, you know, care about it either. If your technical leaders, your people leaders, right, have that excitement and they're getting passionate about it, that will multiply. And so, you know, there's a certain aspect of this that's cultural, right? Like you have to, as a company, as a cohort, as a team, as a group, have to care about the thing you're building being good for the people who are going to use it, right? And you have to care enough to understand how they're going to use it so that you can validate that it's good or not.
Okay. Crazy. So do you think that the most impactful people then would be the leadership level displaying this? Or do you have really strong ICs that
I I don't know. I think it all depends
drive it?
what you mean by leadership. But here's what I'll say. I think
Well, you said specifically technical leaders and people leaders in this example.
yeah. So when I said technical leaders and people leaders, I was thinking more at the team, the atomic level. Um, the distance between the person doing the work and the person being passionate about it is important. Like if the people at the top don't care about the thing you're building, that's going to bleed down. But honestly, like the people on the line are looking at their most senior engineer, their most closest people manager, right? And those are the directly responsible individuals for the team and the product and the thing you're shipping. And so if they're not engaged or they're disenfranchised or whatever, I think that's actually more detrimental to a team and engineers on the line than triple EVP of engineering not giving a rip about what you're doing online. So the folks that I have who are like I think about on my team right now who are most motivating to the rank and file are not the most senior engineers. They're staff. They're senior engineers, maybe a principal here or two, right? These are all folks who are just dealing with a scrum team or a couple, and their customer centric focus is the thing that is like gasoline on a fire for the team, right?
Is there a way to cultivate that? Like you said, you were able to wrap your mind into the persona when you were building at Pardot. Like, are there things that you've seen successfully cultivate that in yourself, amongst the team, things of that nature?
Well, I think you'll appreciate this. I think the voice of the customer is the it's the cocaine for software engineering, right? So at Salesforce when I started, I don't think actually I know this isn't the case anymore, but when I started coming up through Pardot, it was very common for the engineers to do support rotation, right? We'd be like a tier 2 support, and that meant that we interfaced with customers, and we got to very much experience their pain and articulate why something was broken or whether or not it could be done or not, right? That changes how you look at your customers and you look at your experience. When I joined during my orientation, it was standard procedure for me to sit in on a couple of sales calls. So while I was there physically in the office, I sat in a couple of sales calls. And I attended a customer advisory board at a Dreamforce one year. Got to listen on some customer interviews. Those things are how I think you win the hearts and minds of the rank and file who are building for this. Just give them exposure, right? Just letting them hear and understand and internalize all of that. And I think this is a good segue for you because you've been on the other end of this for HubSpot quite a bit, right?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm just coming off a term on HubSpot's customer advisory board, which I think was like 45 people here in 2025. I had the opportunity to sit in a room with the CEO of HubSpot and her chief of staff at Inbound this year. But I'm probably on calls with HubSpot's product team every other week and all across the org. So all the different hubs, things like that. And they actively go out and want customer feedback, sometimes on very early things, sometimes after we've launched something internally, saying, hey, how did this go? What friction did you run into? And things like that. So it's built into their culture very much, really from the top down. I've talked to several people where they're in like, oh, this is my third week at HubSpot, and they're on customer calls. So
Now, when you get in those calls, right, I'm articulating that I think that those are fuel for building good products. But I suspect that they also are pretty exciting and encouraging for you as well as a customer.
oh, absolutely. Because it is showing across the company now, that they actually believe in their mission. HubSpot's mission is to help companies grow better. And like they really want to do that, even though I currently work at a business that doesn't fit probably their largest customer segment, which would be in SaaS or services or things like that. We're retail. We sell lots and lots of things. So it's really cool to kind of see, especially when they say, "Oh, yeah, this part of the product isn't designed for you," and things of that nature too.
So, okay, this is interesting because what we're describing here is a conversation, as it were, between customer and producer, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Provider,
and
yeah,
provider, customer and provider. And I think to come back to your macro theme about taste, good taste comes out of conversations.
mm-hmm.
So I think me dialoguing by myself about wine probably has me drinking, well, probably beer. To be completely honest with you, I probably wouldn't be drinking wine
Right.
if it wasn't for the conversation. And I think I look at what we're describing here, good taste in software, good taste in product, and I think there's something to it. I think it's a larger conversation, a two-way dialogue, as it were, because I don't think those customer experience customer advisory boards are valuable if they are a one-way panel, right?
Right.
And I also don't think like the empty feedback channel is particularly useful for the provider side either, right? Like if you're just pummeling feedback in and I don't have the ability to talk to you about it, understand your use case, understand how you're using the software to feel your pain, to develop some empathy. I don't think that comes out with the same outcomes either.
So I think my two takeaways here are one, you said this before. I don't know if it was on the podcast or LinkedIn or just in conversation, but one, talk to real customers. Like we aren't talking about, oh, this software Sally persona thinks this. No, go talk to real customers and figure out what their real points of friction are, what they love, what they care about, what isn't working well. Like a customer very often isn't going to tell you, um, what you should build next, right? Directly. Because that's not their job. Their job's not to think about, hey, this is the next cool feature, but they are very acutely aware of what their pain points are.
Yeah. And on top of that too, like if you just ask a customer what to build next, they're only going to be able to articulate that within the context of what they already know.
Right.
Right. I've got this is a thing I've written that I've never published, but I've got a thing called "Why Don't We Build Exactly What Customers Ask For?" And it literally says, because customers typically describe solutions based on their immediate experiences or perceived problems rather than the underlying needs or root issues,
Mhm.
right? So customers tend to describe symptoms, not root causes. They aren't always aware of what's possible either. That actually goes back to a Steve Jobs ism that floats around like, what is it's the line about the iPhone, right? It would have been if we'd asked customers what they wanted, it would have been a smarter iPod, something like that,
Right.
or an iPod with more storage. And then I also think like if you build just exactly what a customer articulates to you, it actually limits your innovation, right? You've limited
absolutely.
your ability to what you can do next based solely upon what someone else can articulate to you, and that is like super limited, right? I also think that customers tend to prioritize short-term convenience over long-term value. And that's where that conversation will suss that out, right? And give you some sense of priority. And ultimately that plays into customers have a bias towards familiarity And then the other thing too to keep in mind is they always provide conflicting feedback. So
Sure.
the angriest customer still loves
I
your
do that.
product. Yeah. So, I like, again, the dialogue is important. The conversation is important, but you've got to be able to like parse it and to understand it and interpret it and to internalize it really.
So that leads into my point too. So one, talk to actual customers. Two, talk about the stuff internally and carve out time for it, and kind of force the conversation in the rooms you're in. I don't think it matters what position you hold. Like nobody is going to yell at you for talking about, hey, how does the customer actually use this? How does this affect the whole customer experience?
Yep, definitely. As a let me ask you this. I don't know if this translates into your world or not. I like to keep the names of not always, I don't want to say big, and I don't want to say important either, but like just names of relevant customers on the
Mhm.
tip of my tongue, and I will use them in conversation quite regularly. In your retail world, I know you do a lot of work with schools and stuff. Do you have like the big customers like, hey, what will so and so think about this if we make this change?
So I have not articulated it like that, but I think I'm going to now. But like very often, so part of my role is I run kind of admin the CRM. So whenever I'm looking for an example of a customer with really great data, yeah, I generally have 3 large customers that we can actually go in and see real live data and use that as examples.
This jumped out to me because you were talking about the abstract Sally customer, right? Which
Sure.
I think is so easy to do. But if I tell you that, Joe's Pizza Shop, right, has a pepperoni shortage, and our service is the only way they're going to get pepperoni before Friday when they're hitting peak, I think it changes the nature of the conversation. I think if you have customers, you should be able to articulate the relevant ones, right?
Nice. I like that. Um, we're coming up on an hour, but in your world, when you talk about that personas, like you aren't necessarily just designing this experience for the developers using the API. There are other stakeholders involved, right? Like at Joe's Pizza Shop,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, like, do you prioritize one of those over the other? Does it depend on the use case? Do you
I mean, it depends
articulate
on the
those?
use case. I think in nature sometimes prioritizes some of these too, right? So I'll just give you an example. If I have a company in the health space, right, that is using my product, and there is some process, let's say in a hospital, that requires it, um, that's a more important use case, right?
Hmm.
Because now you're in like life or death stuff versus, uh, you know, I
Running
don't I don't
SMS
I don't know if
wall.
West Music is a customer. I have no idea. But say West Music, right, is trying to send flyers out about new trombone sales, right?
Yep.
Like that seems less important to me than a healthcare thing, as an
Yep.
example. So you prioritize like that naturally. But I think the thing, if you only stop and you think, well, I'm building APIs, so those are just for developers, that's super short sighted, right? It's the people who are on the other end of what that developer is building that you have to keep in mind. So that person in the hospital, or that person looking for a good trombone sale deal, or whatever it is. And I think that that's important too. So there's layers to your customer base, especially when you're doing something as a service. In retail, you probably have less of this. I guess to a certain extent, you have schools, like you got students, right, and
Yeah, so
teachers.
in my use case, like generally it's the music teacher who we think of as the customer. They aren't always the one making the purchase, but ultimately the music teacher is like the fundamental tool to help us accomplish our mission and bring about our vision, which is to get everybody playing music for life. And like if you start that in kindergarten with a really great music teacher and it carries on through middle school when you're doing your first band rental and on to bringing your kids into music, like the music teacher has this compounding effect. But within our customer base, like we're also thinking about principals or district fine arts coordinators, or purchasing agents, and things of that nature too. So it's it's always a balancing act, right?
I was bouncing that. And you just made me think, Mrs. Rexilius, if you're out there, I'm sure you're listening to this podcast right now. I want you to know that I still think of you every time I see a recorder. Okay.
Nice.
All right. Jonathan, I think that's as good a place as any to end. Welcome to 2026. I hope your travels go smoothly. I think we'll record before you actually travel, so we don't miss an episode, because we wouldn't want to do that. But I am increasingly excited to hear more about Disneyland customers and I guess taste. I want to know what your taste is like after SoCal.
I am hoping that it will be some In-N-Out burger.
Ooh, there you go. Will you? So if you had your daughter at In-N-Out Burger, would you make her eat a burger or would you do chicken tenders?
I wouldn't make her do anything, but I don't know.
Probably
let her
you would
choose.
actually offer up a bite of an animal style
absolutely.
burger there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's what I need to hear. Hot take here. I have never actually had an In-N-Out burger.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you should probably change that sometime.
On an infinite time scale, I will. So,
but when you go to Disneyland, after
when I go to Disneyland
review, so
whenever that is. All right, Jonathan. Until next time, my friend.
Until next time.
That's a wrap, yo. Time to unplug. Stan and Jon just served that mug. Twist of lemon, sharp and clean. Truth and tech on your podcast screen. Catch us next time. Don't let it slip. Wisdom packed in